There was once a magic stone on the top of a mountain which was 36 feet 5 inches high and 24 feet round. It was 36 feet 5 inches high to correspond with the 365 degrees of the heavens, and 24 feet round to match the 24 divisions of the solar calendar. On top of it were 9 apertures and 8 holes for the 9 palaces and the 8 trigrams. There were no trees around it to give shade, but magic fungus and orchids clung to its sides. Ever since creation began, it had been receiving the truth of heaven, the beauty of earth, the essence of the sun, and the splendor of the moon, and as it had been influenced by them for so long, it had miraculous powers. It developed a magic womb, which burst open one day to produce a stone egg about the size of a ball. When the wind blew on this egg, it turned into a stone monkey, complete with the 5 senses and 4 limbs. When the stone monkey had learned to crawl and walk, he bowed to each of the 4 quarters. As his eyes moved, 2 beams of golden light shot towards the pole star palace and startled the supreme heavenly sage. The greatly compassionate Jade Emperor of the azure vault of heaven, who was sitting surrounded by his immortal ministers on his throne in the hall of miraculous mist in the golden gated cloud palace. When he saw the dazzling golden light, he ordered 1,000-mile eye and wind accompanying ear to open the southern gate of heaven and take a look. The 2 officers went out through the gate in obedience to the imperial command, and while one observed what was going on, the other listened carefully. Soon after, they reported back. In obedience to the imperial mandate, your subjects observed and listened to the source of the golden light. We found that at the edge of the country of Aeoli, which is east of the ocean belonging to the eastern continent of Superior Body, there is an island called the Mountain of Flowers and Fruit. A magic stone on top of this mountain produced a magic egg, and when the wind blew on this egg, it turned into a stone monkey which bowed to each of the 4 quarters. When he moved his eyes, golden light shot towards the pole star palace, but now that he is eating and drinking, the golden light is gradually dying. In his benevolence and mercy, the Jade Emperor said, "Creatures down below are born of the essence of heaven and earth. There is nothing remarkable about him." On his mountain, the monkey was soon able to run and jump, feed from plants, drink from brooks and springs, pick mountain flowers, and look for fruit. He made friends with the wolves, went around with the tigers and leopards, was on good terms with the deer, and had the other monkeys and apes for relations. At night, he slept under the rock faces, and he roamed around the peaks and caves by day. As the saying so rightly goes, there is no calendar in the mountains, and when winter's over, you don't know the time of year. On hot mornings, he and all the other monkeys would play under the shade of some pine trees to avoid the heat. Just look at them all, climbing trees, picking flowers, looking for fruit, throwing pellets, playing knucklebones, running round sandy hollows, building stone pagodas, chasing dragonflies and catching locusts, worshipping the sky and visiting Bada Vistas, tearing off creepers and weaving straw hats, catching fleas, then popping them with their teeth and fingers, grooming their coats and sharpening their nails, beating, scratching, pushing, squashing, tearing and tugging, playing all over the place under the pine trees, washing themselves beside the green stream. After playing, the monkeys would go and bathe in the stream, a mountain torrent that tumbled along like rolling melons. There is an old saying, birds have bird language and animals have animal talk. All the monkeys said to each other, "I wonder where the water comes from. We've got nothing else to do today, so wouldn't it be fun to go upstream and find its source?" With a shout, they all ran off, leading their children and calling to their brothers. They climbed up the mountain beside the stream until they reached its source, where a waterfall cascaded from a spring. They saw one white rainbow arching, 1,000 strands of flying snow, unbroken by the sea winds, still there under the moon. Cold air divides the greeny crags, splashes moisten the mountainside. A noble waterfall cascades, hanging suspended like a curtain. The monkeys clapped their hands and exclaimed with delight, "What lovely water! and must go all the way to the bottom of the mountain and join the waves of the sea. Then one monkey made a suggestion. If anyone is clever enough to go through the fall, find the source, and come out in one piece, let's make him our king. When this challenge had been shouted 3 times, the stone monkey leapt up from the crowd and answered at the top of his voice, I'll go, splendid monkey indeed. Today he will make his name, tomorrow his destiny shall triumph. He is fated to live here, and as a king he will enter the immortal's palace. Watch him as he shuts his eyes, crouches and springs, leaping straight into the waterfall. When he opened his eyes and raised his head to look around, he saw neither water or waves. A bridge stood in front of him, as large as life. He stopped, calmed himself, took a closer look, and saw that the bridge was made of iron. The water that rushed under it poured out through a fissure in the rocks, screening the gateway to the bridge. He started walking towards the bridge, and as he looked, he made out what seemed to be a house. It was a really good place. He saw emerald moss piled up in heaps of blue, white clouds like drifting jade, while the light flickered among wisps of colored mist. A quiet house with peaceful windows, flowers growing on the smooth bench, dragon pearls hanging in niches, exotic blooms all around, traces of fire beside the stove, scraps of food in the vessels by the table, adorable stone chairs and beds, even better, stone plates and bowls. 1 or 2 tall bamboos, 3 or 4 sprigs of plum blossom, a few pines that always attract rain, just like a real home. He took a good long look and then scampered to the middle of the bridge, from where he noticed a stone tablet. On the tablet had been carved in big square letters, Happy Land of the Mountain of Flowers and Fruit, Cave of Heaven of the Water Curtain. The stone monkey was beside himself with glee. He rushed away, shut his eyes, crouched, and leapt back through the waterfall. We're in luck, he said with a chuckle. All the other monkeys crowded round him, asking, What's it like in there? How deep is the water? There's no water, none at all, replied the stone monkey. There's an iron bridge, and on the other side of the bridge there's a house that must have been made by heaven and earth. However could you see a house there? The other monkeys asked. The stone monkey chuckled again. The water here comes under the bridge and through the rocks, and it hides the gateway to the bridge from view. There are flowers and trees by the bridge, and a stone house too. Inside the house are stone rooms, a stone stove, stone bowls, stone plates, stone beds, and even stone benches. In the middle of it all is a tablet which says, Happy Land of the Mountain of Flowers and Fruit, Cave Heaven of the Water Curtain. It's just the place for us to settle down in. There's room there for thousands. Let's all move in, then we won't have to put up with any more nonsense from heaven. In there, we can hide from the wind and shelter from the rain, with nothing to fear from frost and snow, and never a rumble of thunder. The colored mists glow bright, and the place smells lucky. The pine and bamboo will always be beautiful, and rare flowers blossom every day. The other monkeys were all so delighted to hear this, and they said, You go first and take us with you. The stone monkey shut his eyes, crouched, and leapt in again, shouting, Follow me in, follow me in. The braver monkeys all jumped through. The more timid ones peered forward, shrank back, rubbed their ears, scratched their cheeks, shouted and yelled at the top of their voices before going in, all clinging to each other. After rushing through the bridge, they all grabbed plates and snatched bowls, bagged stoves, and fought over beds, and moved everything around. Monkeys are born naughty, and they could not keep quiet for a single moment until they had worn themselves out moving things around. The stone monkey sat himself in the main seat and said, Gentlemen, a man who breaks his word is worthless. Just now you said that if anyone was clever enough to come in here and get out again in one piece, you would make him king. Well then, I've come in and gone out, and gone out and come in. I've found you gentlemen a cave heaven where you can sleep in peace and all settle down to live in bliss. Why haven't you made me king? On hearing this, all the monkeys bowed and prostrated themselves, not daring to disobey. They lined up in groups of order of age and paid their homage as at court, all acclaiming him as the great king of 1,000 years. The stone monkey then took the throne and made the word stone taboo, and called himself Handsome Monkey King. There is a poem to prove it that goes, all things are born from the three positives. The magic stone was quick with the essence of sun and moon. An egg was turned into a monkey to complete the great way. He was lent a name so the elixir would be complete. Looking inside, he perceives nothing because it has no form. Outside, he uses his intelligence to create visible things. Men have always been like this. Those who are called kings and sages do just as they wish. Taking control of his host of monkeys, apes, gibbons, and others, the handsome Monkey King divided them into rulers and subjects, assistants and officers. In the morning, they roamed the mountain of flowers and fruit, and in the evening they settled down for the night in the water-curtain cave. They made a compact that they would not join the ranks of the birds or go running with beasts. They had their own king, and they thoroughly enjoyed themselves. In spring, they picked flowers for food and drink. In summer, they lived off fruit. In autumn, they gathered tares and chestnuts. They got through the winter on Solomon's seal. The handsome Monkey King's innocent high spirits could not, of course, last for 300 or 400 years. One day, he suddenly felt depressed during a banquet with his monkey host, and he started to weep. The startled monkeys crowded round, bowed to him, and asked, "What's the matter, Your Majesty?" "Although I'm happy now," the Monkey King replied, "I'm worried about the future. That's what's getting me down." The other monkeys laughed and said, "Your Majesty is being greedy. We have parties every day. We live in a mountain paradise, in an ancient cave, in a divine continent. We are spared the rule of unicorns, the domination of phoenix, and the restraints of human kings. We are free to do just as we like. We are infinitely lucky. Why make yourself miserable worrying about the future?" To this the Monkey King replied, "Yes, we don't have to submit to the laws and regulations of human kings, and we don't live in terror of the power of birds and beasts. But the time will come when we are old and weak, and the underworld is controlled by the King of Hell. When the time comes for us to die, we won't be able to go on living among the blessed, and our lives will have been in vain." All the monkeys covered their faces and wept as every one of them thought about death. Suddenly, a gibbon jumped out from their ranks and shrieked in a piercing voice, "If Your Majesty is thinking so far ahead, this is the beginning of enlightenment." Now, of the 5 creatures, there are only 3 that do not come under the jurisdiction of the King of Hell. "Do you know which they are?" asked the Monkey King. "Yes," the ape replied. "They are the Buddhists, the immortals, and the sages. They are free from the wheel of reincarnation. They are not born, and they do not die. They are as eternal as heaven and earth, as the mountains and the rivers." "Where do they live?" the Monkey King asked. "Only in the human world," the ape replied, "in ancient caves on magic mountains." The Monkey King was delighted to hear this. "I shall leave you all tomorrow," he said, "and go down the mountain. If I have to, I'll roam the corners of the oceans and go to the edge of the sky to find these 3 kinds of beings and discover the secret of eternal youth that will keep us out of the clutches of the King of Hell forever." Goodness! Because of these words, he was to learn how to be free from the wheel of reincarnation and become the great sage equaling heaven. All the monkeys clapped with approval and said, "Great, great! Tomorrow we'll climb all over the mountain and get lots of fruit to give Your Majesty a really big banquet to send you off." The next day the monkeys set out to pick magic peaches, gather rare fruits, dig out yams, and cut Solomon's seal. Magic fungus and fragrant orchids were collected, and everything was set on the stone benches and stone tables with fairy wine and dishes. You could see golden pills and pearl pellets, bursting red and plump yellow. The golden pills and pearl pellets were winter cherries, beautiful and sweet. The bursting red and plump yellow were ripe plums, tasty and sharp. Fresh, sweet flesh longans with thin skins, fiery leeches with tiny stones in a red sack, branch after branch of crab apples, yellow-skinned loquats with their leaves on, rabbit-head pears, and chicken heart jujubes. To quench your thirst, remove your cares, and sober you up, fragrant peaches and tender apricots, as sweet and as luscious as jade wine. Crisp plums and arbutus, as sharp as glistening yogurt, ripe melons with red coats and black seeds, big 4-section persimmons with yellow skins, bursting pomegranates, cinnabar pips shining like fire crystal pearls, opened water chestnuts with firm round flesh like golden agate, walnuts and ginkgo fruits to eat with tea, coconuts and grapes to make into wine, dishes loaded with pine cones, yew nuts, filberts, and crab apples, tangerines, sugar cane, and oranges covering the table, hot roast yams, tender boiled Solomon's seal, pounded china root and Job's tears, simmered in a soup in a stone pot. Although we humans have rare delicacies to eat, we are no happier than those monkeys in the mountain. The host of monkeys ushered the handsome Monkey King to the seat of honor and sat down below him according to age. Each of them took in turns to bring him wine, flowers, and fruit, and they drank hard for a whole day. The next morning, the handsome Monkey King got up early and ordered, "Children, tear down some old pines and make me a raft, find a bamboo pole to punt with, and load it up with fruit, I'm going." He went aboard the raft all by himself, pushed off with all his might, and floated off towards the waves of the ocean. He intended to sail with the wind and cross over to the southern Jambu continent. The heaven-born monkey, whose conduct was so noble, left his island to drift with heaven's winds. He sailed oceans and seas to find the way of immortality. Deeply determined to do a great deed, the predestined one should not have vulgar longings. He can attain the primal truth without care or worry. He is bound to find a kindred spirit to explain the origins and laws of nature. He had chosen just the right time for his journey. After he boarded his raft, the southeasterly wind blew hard for days on end and bore him to the northwestern shore of the southern continent. Testing the depth of the water with his pole, he found that it was shallow, so he abandoned the raft and jumped ashore. He saw humans by the coast, fishing, hunting geese, gathering clams, and extracting salt. He went up to them, leaping around and making faces, which so scared them that they dropped their baskets and nets and fled in all directions as fast as they could. The Monkey King grabbed one of them who was a poor runner, stripped him of his clothes, and dressed himself in them like a human. He swaggered through the provinces and prefectures, learning human behavior and human speech in the marketplaces. Whether he was eating his breakfast or going to bed at night, he was always asking about the Buddhas, immortals, and sages, and seeking the secret of eternal youth. He observed that the people of the world were too concerned with fame and fortune to be interested in their fates. When will the struggle for fame and fortune end? Toiling from morning till night, never pleasing yourself. Those who ride donkeys long for stallions. The prime minister always wants to be a prince. They only worry about having to stop work to eat or dress. They never fear that the king of hell will come to get them. When trying to ensure their sons and grandsons inherit their wealth and power, they have no time to stop and think. Although he asked about the ways of immortals, the Monkey King was unable to meet one. He spent 8 or 9 years in the southern Jambu continent, going through its great walls and visiting its little counties. When he found that he had reached the great western ocean, he thought that there must be sages and immortals on the other side of it. So he made himself another raft like the last one and floated across the western ocean until he came to the western continent of Cattle Gift. He went ashore and made extensive and lengthy inquiries until one day he came upon a high and beautiful mountain, thickly forested on its lower slopes. Not fearing wolves and undaunted by tigers and leopards, he climbed to the summit to see the view. It was indeed a fine mountain. 1,000 peaks brandishing halberds, screens 10,000 meters tall. In the sunlight, the mountain haze is lightly touched with blue. After the rain, the black rocks look coldly green. Withered creepers coil around ancient trees, and the old ford marks the bounds of the mysterious. Strange flowers and precious plants, flourishing for all 4 seasons, rivaling fairyland. The nearby cry of a hidden bird, the clear running of a spring, valley upon valley of mushroom and orchid. Lichen grows all over the cliffs. The range rises and dips in dragon-like majesty. Surely there must be lofty hermits here. As he was looking at the view, the Monkey King heard a human voice coming from the depths of the forest. He rushed into the trees, and when he cocked his ear to listen, he heard a song. Watching the chess game, I cut through the rotten, felling trees, ding ding. Strolling at the edge of the cloud and the mouth of the valley, I sell firewood to buy wine, cackling with laughter and perfectly happy. I pillow myself on a pine root, looking up at the moon. When I wake up it is light. Recognizing the old forest, I scale cliffs and cross ridges, cutting down withered creepers with my axe. When I've gathered a basketful, I walk down to the market with a song, and trade it for 3 pints of rice. Nobody else competes with me, so prices are stable. I don't speculate or try sharp practice, couldn't care less what people think of me, calmly lengthening my days. The people I meet are Taoists and immortals, sitting quietly and expounding the yellow court. The Monkey King was overjoyed to hear this, and he said with glee, "So this is where the immortals have been hiding." He bounded deeper into the woods for a closer look and saw that the singer was a woodcutter cutting firewood. He was wearing the most unusual clothes. On his head he wore a hat woven from the first skin shed by new bamboo shoots. The clothes on his body were made of yarn from the wild cotton tree. The belt around his waist was silk from an old silkworm. The straw sandals under his feet had straps torn from rotten sago trees. In his hand he held a steel axe. On his back he carried a hempen rope. At climbing pines and felling dead trees, who was a match for this woodcutter? The Monkey King went closer and called to him, "Old immortal, your disciple greets you." The woodcutter dropped his axe in astonishment and turned around to say, No, I don't even have enough to eat or drink, so how could I possibly let you call me an immortal?" "If you're not an immortal," the Monkey King said, "why do you talk like one?" "I don't talk like an immortal," the woodcutter said. "At the edge of the wood just now," the Monkey King replied, "I heard you say, 'People I meet are Taoists and immortals, sitting quietly and expounding the Manting-Fang.' The Manting-Fang contains the truth about the way, so if you're not an immortal, what are you?" The woodcutter laughed. "It's quite true that the song is called 'The Fragrance of the Manting-Fang,' and an immortal who lives near my hut taught me it. He said he saw how hard I had to work and how I was always worried, so he made me sing this song where things were getting me down. It lightens my cares and makes me forget my weariness. I was singing it just now because I had some problems on my mind, and I never imagined that you would be listening. If you've got an immortal for a neighbor, you ought to learn from him how to cultivate your conduct and get him to teach you a recipe for eternal youth." "I've had a hard life," the woodcutter replied. "My mother and father brought me up until I was about 8, and just when I was beginning to know about life, my father died. My mother remained a widow, and I had no brothers or sisters. As I was the only child, I had to look after my mother morning and night. Now she is old that I can't possibly leave her. Our land is so overgrown that I can't grow enough to feed and clothe both of us, so I have to cut a couple of bundles of firewood to sell in the market for a handful of coppers to buy the few pints of rice that I cook for myself and my mother. That's why I can't cultivate my conduct." "From what you say," the Monkey King replied, "you're a filial son and a gentleman. You're bound to be rewarded for it one day. But I'd be grateful if you could show me where the immortal lives so I can go and pay him my respects." The woodcutter said, "It's not far from here. This mountain is the Spirit Tower Mountain, and in it there is the cave of the setting moon and the 3 stars. In that cave lives an immortal called the Patriarch Subhuti. I don't know how many disciples he has trained. There are 30 or 40 of them cultivating their conduct with him at the moment. If you take that path south for 2 or 3 miles, you'll reach his home." The Monkey King tugged at the woodcutter and said, "Take me there, elder brother. If I get anything out of this, I won't forget your kindness." "You idiot," the woodcutter replied. "Didn't you understand what I told you just now? If I went with you, I wouldn't be able to earn my living, and who would look after my poor old mother then? I've got to get on with my woodcutting. Go by yourself." After hearing this, the Monkey King had to take his leave. He came out of the forest and found the path, which led up a mountain slope for 2 or 3 miles, when he saw the cave. He pulled himself up to his full height to take a look, and it was a really magnificent place. Misty clouds scattered colors, sun and moon shimmered bright, 1,000 ancient cypresses, 10,000 lofty bamboos, a soft green drawing the rain from the sky, and a misty valley is azure blue. Outside the gate, rare flowers spread brocade. Beside the bridge wafts the scent of jade flowers. Rocky crags jut, glossy with green moss. On overhanging cliffs, blue lichen grows. Sometimes the call of a crane is heard, and often you see the phoenix soar. The call of the crane echoes beyond the ninth heaven and the Milky Way. When the phoenix soars, the brilliance of its wings color the cloud. Black apes and white deer can just be made out. Golden lions and jade elephants prefer to keep hidden. If you look closely at this happy land, you will see that it rivals paradise. He saw that the doors of the cave were shut fast, and that everything was still, with no signs of any people. He turned around and noticed that there was a stone tablet about 30 feet high and 8 feet wide at the top of the cliff. On it was carved in enormous letters, Spirit Tower, Heart Mountain, Cave of the Setting Moon and the 3 Stars. The Monkey King exclaimed with delight, "The people here really are honest. The mountain and the cave do exist." He took a good long look, but he did not dare to knock on the door. He climbed to the end of a pine branch and ate some pine seeds to amuse himself. Before long, the doors of the cave opened with a creak, and an immortal boy came out. In the nobility of his bearing and the exceptional purity of his features, he was completely different from an ordinary boy. His hair was bound with a pair of silken bands. His flowing gown had 2 capacious sleeves. His face and body were naturally distinguished. His mind and appearance were both empty. For many years a guest beyond the world of things, an eternal child amid the mountains, untouched by any speck of dust, he let the years go tumbling by. When this boy had come out, he shouted, "Who's making that row out here?" The Monkey King scampered down the tree, went up to him, and said with a bow, "Immortal child, I am a disciple who has come to ask about the way and study under the immortal. The last thing I'd do would be to make a row here." The boy laughed. "So you've come to ask about the way, have you?" "Yes," the Monkey King replied. "Our master has just got up," the boy said, "and has now mounted the dais to expound the way. Before he had started to explain about origins, he told me to open the door. He said, 'There is someone outside who wants to cultivate his contact. Go and welcome him.' I suppose he must have meant you." "Yes, he meant me," the Monkey King said with a smile. "Come with me," the boy said. The Monkey King straightened his clothes and followed the boy deep into the depths of the cave. He saw majestic pavilions and towers of red jade, pearl palaces and gateways of cowrie, and countless rooms of silence and secluded cells leading all the way to a jasper dais. He saw the patriarch, Subhuti, sitting on the dais, and 36 minor immortals standing below it. A golden immortal of great enlightenment, free from filth. Subhuti, the marvel of the Western world. Neither dying nor born, he practices the triple meditation. His spirit and soul entirely benevolent. In empty detachment he follows the changes. Having found his true nature, he lets it run free. As eternal as heaven and majestic in body, the great teacher of the law is enlightened through eons. As soon as the handsome Monkey King saw him, he bowed low and knocked his head on the ground before him many times, saying, "Master, Master, your disciple pays his deepest respects." "Where are you from?" the patriarch asked. "You must tell me your name and address before you can become my pupil." "I come from the Water Curtain Cave in the Flowers and Fruit Mountain in the land of Aoli in the eastern continent of Superior Body," replied the Monkey King. "Throw him out," the patriarch roared. "He's a liar and a cheat, and even if he tried cultivating his conduct, he would get nowhere." The Monkey King desperately kept hitting his head on the ground and said, "Your disciple spoke the truth. I promise I wasn't lying." The patriarch asked, "If you were speaking the truth, why did you say that you came from the eastern continent of Superior Body? Between here and the eastern continent there are 2 seas and the southern Jambu continent. So how could you possibly have come here from there?" The Monkey King, still kowtowing, replied, "I sailed across seas and oceans, crossed frontiers, and wandered through many countries for over 10 years before I arrived here." "So you came here by stages," the patriarch remarked. "What is your surname?" "I'm not surly," the Monkey King replied. "If people call me names, it doesn't bother me, and if they hit me, I don't get angry. I'm just polite to them, and that's that. I've never been surly." "I didn't ask if you were surly. I wanted to know the surname you inherited from your parents." "I didn't have any parents," the Monkey King replied. "If you had no parents, did you grow on a tree?" "I grew not in a tree, but in a stone," the Monkey King replied. "All I remember is that there was a magic stone on the top of Flower and Fruit Mountain, and that one year the stone split open and I was born." Concealing his delight at hearing this, the patriarch remarked, "In other words, you were born of heaven and earth. Walk around for a moment and let me have a look at you." The Monkey King leapt to his feet and shambled around a couple of times. The patriarch smiled and said, "Though you have a rather base sort of body, you look like one of those rhesus monkeys that eats pine seeds, and I ought to give you a surname that fits your appearance and call you Hugh. That's a macaque. The elements that make up the character Hugh are animal, old, and moon. What is old is ancient, and the moon embodies the negative principle, and what is ancient and negative cannot be transformed. But I think I would do much better to call you Sun, which is monkey, apart from the animal element. The character Sun has one part implying male and one part suggesting a baby, which fits in with my basic theories about children. Your surname will be Sun." When the Monkey King heard this, he kowtowed with delight and said, "Great, great! Now I have a surname. I am eternally grateful to you for your mercy and compassion, master. I beg you to give me a personal name to go with my new surname, then it will be much easier to address me." "There are 12 words within my sect," said the patriarch, "which I give as names. You belong to the 10th generation of my disciples." "What are the 12 words?" asked the Monkey King. "Broad, great, wisdom, intelligence, true, likeness, nature, see, bright, awakened, complete, and enlightenment. If we work out the generations of disciples, then you should have a name with Wu, awakened, in it. So we will give you the Dharma name Sun Wukong, which means monkey awakened to emptiness. Will that do?" "Marvelous, marvelous," said the smiling Monkey King. "From now on my name will be Sun Wukong." Indeed, when the great vagueness was separated, there were no surnames. To smash foolish emptiness, he had to be awakened to emptiness. If you want to know what success he had in cultivating his conduct, you must listen in Chapter 2. He becomes aware of the wonderful truth of enlightenment. By killing the demon, he realizes his spirit name. The story goes on to tell how after being given a name, the handsome Monkey King jumped for joy and bowed to Subhuti to express his thanks. The patriarch then ordered the others to take Sun Wukong out through the double doors and teach him how to sprinkle and sweep the floor, answer orders, and deport himself properly. All the immortals went out in obedience to his command. When Sun Wukong was outside the doors, he bowed to all his spiritual elder brothers and laid out his bed on the veranda. The next morning and ever following day, he studied language and deportment under his spiritual elder brothers, expounded the scriptures, discussed the way, practiced calligraphy, and burnt incense. When he had any spare time, he would sweep the grounds, dig the vegetable patch, grow flowers, tend trees, look for kindling, light the fire, carry water, and fetch soy. Everything he needed was provided. Thus 6 or 7 years slipped by in the cave without him noticing them. One day the patriarch took his seat on the dais, calling all the immortals together, and began to explain the great way. Heavenly flowers fell in profusion. White gold lotuses burst forth from the earth. Brilliantly, he expounded the doctrine of the three vehicles, setting forth 10,000 dharmas in all their details, and as he slowly waved his whisk, jewels fell from his mouth, echoing like thunder and shaking the 9 heavens. Now preaching the way, now teaching meditation, he showed that the 3 beliefs are basically the same. In explaining a single word, he brought one back to the truth, and taught the secrets of avoiding birth and understanding one's nature. As Monkey sat at the side, listening to the exposition, he was so delighted that he tugged at his ear, scratched his cheek, and smiled. He could not help waving his hands and stamping. When the patriarch noticed this, he said to Monkey, "Why are you leaping around like a madman in class instead of listening to the lesson? Your disciple is listening to the exposition with all his attention," Monkey replied. "But your marvelous words made me so happy that I started jumping around without realizing what I was doing. Please forgive me." To this the patriarch replied, "If you really understand my marvelous words, then answer this question. How long have you been in my cave?" "Your disciple was born stupid," Monkey replied, "so I've no idea how long I've been here. All I know is that whenever the fire in the stove goes out, I go to the other side of the mountain to collect firewood, and there I see a hill covered with fine peach trees. I've had 7 good feeds of peaches there. That hill is called Tender Peach Hill. If you have eaten there 7 times, you must have been here 7 years. What sort of way do you want to learn from me?" "That depends on what you teach me, master. As long as there's a whiff of a way to it, your disciple will learn it. There are 363 side entrances to the way, and they all lead to a true result," Patriarch said. "Which branch would you like to study?" "I will do whatever you think best, master," replied Monkey. "What about teaching you the way of magic arts?" "What does the way of magic arts mean?" "Magic arts," the patriarch replied, "include summoning immortals, using the magic sandboard, and divining by milfoil. With them one can learn how to bring on good fortune and avert disaster." "Can you become immortal this way?" asked Monkey. "No, certainly not," replied the patriarch. "No, I shan't learn it." "Shall I teach you the way of sects?" the patriarch asked. "What are the principles of the sects?" asked Monkey. "Within the branch of sects there is Confucianism, Buddhism, Taoism, the study of the negative and positive, Moism, medicine, reading scriptures, and chanting the name of Buddha. You can also summon immortals and sages with this branch." "Can you attain immortality that way?" Monkey asked. "To try and attain immortality that way," the patriarch replied, "is like putting a pillar in the wall." "Master," Monkey said, "I'm a simple chap, and I can't understand your technical jargon. What do you mean by putting a pillar in the wall?" "When a man builds a house and wants to make it strong, he puts a pillar in the wall. But when the day comes for his mansion to collapse, the pillar is bound to rot." "From what you say," Monkey observed, "it's not eternal. No, shan't learn it." "Shall I teach you the way of silence?" the patriarch then asked. "What true result can be got from silence?" said Monkey. "It involves abstaining from grain, preserving one's essence, silence, inaction, meditation, abstaining from speech, eating vegetarian food, performing certain exercises when asleep or standing up, going into trances, and being walled up in total isolation." "Is this a way of becoming immortal?" Monkey asked. "It's like building the top of a kiln with sun-dried bricks," the patriarch replied. "You do go on, master," said Sun Wukong. "I've already told you that I can't understand your technical jargon. What does building the top of a kiln with sun-dried bricks mean?" "If you build the top of a kiln with sun-dried bricks, they make it look all right, but if they have not been hardened with fire and water, then they will crumble away in the first heavy rainstorm." "There's nothing eternal about that either, then," replied Monkey. "No, shan't learn that." "Shall I teach you the way of action, then?" the patriarch asked. "What's that like?" Monkey asked. "It involves acting and doing, extracting the negative and building up the positive, drawing the bow and loading the crossbow, rubbing the navel to make the subtle humors flow, refining elixirs according to formula, lighting fires under cauldrons, consuming red lead, purifying autumn stone, and drinking women's milk." Can doing things like that make me live forever? Monkey asked. To try and attain immortality that way is like lifting the moon out of the water. What does lifting the moon out of the water mean? The moon is in the sky, the patriarch replied, and only its reflection is in the water. Although you can see it there, you will try in vain to lift it out. Nope. Shan't learn that, the monkey exclaimed. When the patriarch heard this, he gasped and climbed down from his dais. Pointing at Sun Wukong with his cane, he said, "You won't study this, and you won't study that, so what do you want, you monkey?" He went up to Monkey and hit him 3 times on the head, then went inside with his hands behind his back and shut the main door, abandoning them all. The class was shocked, and they all blamed Sun Wukong. "You cheeky ape, you have no idea how to behave. The master was teaching you the way, so why did you have to argue with him instead of learning from him? Now you've offended him, we don't know when he'll come out again." They were all very angry with him and regarded him with loathing and contempt, but Sun Wukong was not bothered in the least, and his face was covered with smiles. The Monkey King had understood the riddle and had the answer hidden away in his mind, so he did not argue with the others, but bore it all without a word. When the patriarch hit him 3 times, he had been telling him to pay attention at the 3rd watch, and when he went inside with his hands behind his back and shut the main door, he had told Monkey King to go in through the back door and be taught the way in secret. The delighted Sun Wukong spent the rest of that day with the others in front of the 3 Stars cave, looking at the sky and impatient for night to come. At dusk, he went to bed like all the others, pretended to close his eyes, controlled his breathing, and calmed himself down. Nobody beats the watches or calls out the hour in the mountains, so he had no way of knowing the time except by regulating the breath going in and out of his nose. When he reckoned that it was about the 3rd watch, he got up very quietly, dressed, and slipped out through the front door away from the others. When he was outside, he looked up and saw the moon was bright and clear and cold. The vast space of the 8 points was free from dust. Deep in the trees a bird slept hidden, while the water flowed from the spring. Fireflies scattered their lights, and a line of geese was stretched across the clouds. It was exactly the 3rd watch, the right time to ask about the way. Watch the Monkey King as he follows the old path to the back door, which he found to be ajar. The patriarch has left the door open, so he really intends to teach me the way, he exclaimed in delight. He tiptoed toward, went in sideways through the door, and walked over to the patriarch's bed. When he saw the patriarch sleeping curled up, facing the inside of the room, not daring to disturb him, Sun Wukong knelt in front of the bed. Before long, the patriarch woke up, stretched out both his legs, and mumbled to himself, "It's hard, hard, hard. The way is very obscure. Don't make light of the gold and the cinnabar. To teach miraculous spells to any but the perfect man is to tire the voice and dry the tongue in vain." Sun Wukong said in reply, "Master, your disciple has been kneeling here for a long time." When the patriarch heard that it was Sun Wukong who was speaking, he pulled some clothes on, sat up cross-legged, and shouted, "If that's Monkey, why have you come into my room instead of sleeping out in the front? Master, you told me publicly in front of the altar yesterday that your disciple was to come in here through the back gate at the 3rd watch, as you were going to teach me the way. That is why I made so bold as to come pay my respects beside my master's bed." The patriarch was very pleased to hear this, and said to himself, "This wretch was indeed born of heaven and earth, otherwise he wouldn't have been able to understand my cryptic message." Sun Wukong said, "There's no 3rd pair of ears in this room. Your disciple is the only other person here. I hope, Master, that in your great mercy you will teach me the way of immortality. If you do, I'll always be grateful to you." "You are predestined," the patriarch said, "so I shall be happy to tell you. Since you understood my cryptic message, come over here and listen carefully while I teach you the miraculous way of immortality." Sun Wukong kowtowed with gratitude and knelt before the bed, listening with all his attention. The patriarch said, "True spells, revealing secrets and all-powerful, are the only sure way of protecting one's life. They all come from essence, vapor, spirit, must be stored away securely and never divulged, must never be divulged and stored in the body. Then the way I teach you will flourish of itself. Many are the benefits of learning spells. They give protection from evil desires and make one pure. Make one pure with a dazzling radiance, like a bright moon shining on a cinnabar tower. The moon contains a jade rabbit, the sun a golden crow. The tortoise and the snake are always intertwined. Always intertwined, then life is firm, and one can plant golden lotuses in fire, grasp all the 5 elements, and turn them upside down. And when you are successful, you can become a Buddha or an immortal. The patriarch's explanation went to the root of things, and Sun Wukong's heart was filled with bliss as he committed the spells to memory. He bowed to the patriarch to express his deep gratitude and went out of the back door to look. He saw that there was a trace of white in the east, while the golden light of the moon was shining in the west. He went to the front door by the old path, pushed it open gently, and went in. He sat down where he had been sleeping earlier, shook his bedding, and said loudly, "It's dawn, it's dawn, get up." The others were all asleep, unaware of Sun Wukong's good fortune. At daybreak he got up and muddled through the day, while secretly keeping to what he had been told. In the afternoon and evening he regulated his breathing. After 3 years had passed in this way, the patriarch once more sat on his lecturing throne and expounded the Dharma to the students. He recounted famous sayings and parables and discussed external phenomena and external appearances. Without warning, he asked, "Where is Sun Wukong?" Sun Wukong went forward, knelt down, and replied, "Your disciple is present. What way have you cultivated since coming here?" "Your disciple is now fairly well conversant with the Dharma," Sun Wukong replied, "and my source is getting gradually stronger." "If you are conversant with the Dharma and you know about the source," the patriarch replied, "and if the spirit has already flowed into you, then you must be aware of the 3 disasters. Sun Wukong thought for a long time, and then he said, "Patriarch, you're talking rubbish. I have often heard that the way is lofty and its power mighty, that it is as eternal in heaven, that it can overcome fire and water and prevent all illnesses from arising, so how could there be 3 disasters? To this the patriarch replied, "This is not the ordinary way. It involves seizing the very creation of heaven and earth and encroaching on the hidden workings of the sun and the moon. Once the elixir is made, devils and spirits cannot tolerate it. Although it will preserve the youthfulness of your face and prolong your life, in 500 years' time, heaven will strike you with a thunderbolt. You must be clear-sighted in nature and mind, so that you can hide from it before it comes. If you succeed in avoiding it, you will live as long as heaven, and if you don't, it will kill you. Another 500 years later, heaven will burn you with fire. This fire will be not heavenly fire or ordinary fire, but hidden fire. It will burn you from the soles of your feet to the crown of your head. Your 5 viscera will be reduced to ashes, your 4 limbs will be destroyed, and 1,000 years of asceticism will have been so much wasted time. Another 500 years later, a wind will blow at you. It will not be the north, south, east, or west wind, nor will it be a warm, fragrant wind from the northwest, nor will it be the kind of wind that blows among flowers, willows, pines, and bamboo. It will be what is called a monster wind. It will blow through the crown of your head down into your 6 entrails. It will go through the cinnabar field below your navel and penetrate your 9 orifices. Your flesh and your bones will be destroyed, and your body will disintegrate, so you must avoid all 3 of these disasters." When he heard this, Sun Wukong's hair stood on end, and he kowtowed with the word, "I implore you, my lord, to show pity and teach me how to avoid these 3 disasters. If you do, I will be grateful to you forever." "That would be easy," the patriarch replied, "but for the fact that you are different from other people, which means that I can't." "I have a head that faces the sky and feet standing on earth," said Sun Wukong. "I have 9 orifices and 4 limbs, 5 viscera, and 6 entrails. How am I different from anyone else? Although you are quite like other people, Your cheeks are too small." Now the monkey had a funny face, with cheeks that caved inwards and a sharp chin. Sun Wukong felt with his hand and replied with a laugh, "Master, you don't take everything into account. Although I'm a bit short of jaw, I've got more dewlap than other people to make up for it." "Very well then," the patriarch said. "Which would you prefer to learn, the 36 heavenly transformations or the 72 earthly ones?" "Your disciple wants to get as much out of it as he can, so I would like to learn the 72 earthly ones." "If that is what you want," the patriarch replied, "come here and I'll teach you the spells." Thereupon he whispered into Sun Wukong's ear, and who knows what miraculous spells he taught him. The Monkey King was the sort of person who understands everything once he is told a tiny part, and he learned the spells on the spot. He practiced and trained until he had mastered all 72 transformations. One day the patriarch and all his disciples were enjoying the sunset outside the Three Stars Cave. The patriarch asked Sun Wukong, "Have you succeeded yet?" Sun Wukong replied, "Thanks to your infinite mercy, Master, your disciples' results have been perfect, and I can now rise on the clouds and fly." "Let me see you try a flight," the patriarch said. Sun Wukong used his skill to perform a series of somersaults that carried him 50 or 60 feet into the air. Then he walked around on the clouds for about as long as it takes to eat a meal. He covered about a mile altogether before landing in front of the patriarch, folding his arms across his chest and saying, "Master, that's flying and soaring in the clouds." The patriarch laughed. "That's not soaring in the clouds, it's just climbing up them. There's an old saying that says, 'An immortal visits the northern sea in the morning and Kangwoo in the evening.' But to take as long as you did just to go a mile doesn't count as climbing on the clouds." "How can it be possible to visit the northern sea in the morning and Kangwoo in the evening?" Sun Wukong asked. "All cloud soarers start off from the northern sea early in the morning, visit the eastern, western, and southern seas, and then come back to Kangwoo. Kangwoo is what the northern sea is called in the Ling Ling language. When you can go beyond all 4 seas in a single day, you can regard yourself as a cloud soarer." "But that must be very difficult," Sun Wukong observed. "Where there's a will, there's a way," the patriarch replied. "Nothing by halves, Master," replied Sun Wukong with bows and kowtows. "I beg of you in your great mercy to teach me the art of cloud soaring. I promise that I will always be grateful." "Immortals take off with a stamp of their feet," said the patriarch, "but you do it differently. Just now I saw you pull yourself up. As that is the way you do it, I'll show you how to do it your own way and teach you the somersault cloud." Sun Wukong bowed again, imploring him to do so, and the patriarch taught him the spell. "For this kind of cloud," the patriarch said, "you make the magic by clasping your hands in the special way, recite the words of the spell, clench your fists, shake yourself, and jump. With one somersault, you can go 60,000 miles. When the others heard this, they all exclaimed with a laugh, "Lucky old Sun Wukong! With magic like this, he could be a messenger, delivering official letters and reports, and he'd never go short of a meal." When it was dark, the patriarch and his pupils returned to the cave. That night, Sun Wukong moved his spirit, practiced the technique, and mastered the cloud somersault. From then on, he was free from all restraint, and he enjoyed the delights of immortality, drifting around as he pleased. On a day when spring was giving way to summer, and all the students had been sitting under some pine trees listening to lectures for a long time, they said, "Sun Wukong, in what life did you earn your present destiny? The other day our teacher whispered to you how to do the transformations to avoid the 3 disasters. Can you do them all yet?" "It's true, brother," said Sun Wukong with a grin. "I can do them all. In the first place, it's because our master taught me, and in the second place, it's because I practiced them hard day and night. This would be a good time for you to give us a demonstration." At this suggestion, Sun Wukong braced his spirit to show off his skill. "What's it to be, brothers? Tell me what you'd like me to turn myself into." "Turn into a pine tree," they all said. Sun Wukong clenched his fists, said the magic words, shook himself, and changed into a pine tree. It was truly green and misty throughout the 4 seasons, raising its upright beauty to the clouds, not in the least like a demon monkey. Every inch a tree that withstands frost and snow. When the students saw it, they clapped their hands and chuckled aloud, saying, "Good old monkey, good old monkey." They did not realize that the row they were making had disturbed the patriarch, who rushed out through the door, dragging his stick behind him. "Who's making a row out here?" he asked. The students hurriedly pulled themselves together, straightened their clothes, and went over to him. Sun Wukong, who had now resumed his real appearance, said from the forest, "Master, we were holding a discussion here, and there were no outsiders making a din." "Yelling and shouting like that," the patriarch angrily roared, "is no way for those cultivating their conduct to behave. If you are cultivating your conduct, the subtle vapors escape when you open your mouth, and when you wag your tongue, trouble starts. What was all that laughing and shouting about? Just now Sun Wukong did a transformation for fun. We told him to turn himself into a pine tree, and he did. We all praised and applauded him, which is why we disturbed you with the noise, master. We beg you to forgive us." The patriarch sent them all away except for Sun Wukong, to whom he said, "Come here. Is that a way to use your spirit, to change into a pine tree? Is this a skill you should be showing off in front of people? If you saw somebody else doing that, wouldn't you ask him to teach you? If other people see you doing it, they're bound to ask you to teach them, and if you want to keep out of trouble, you'll have to do so. Otherwise, they may do you harm, and then your life will be in danger." Sun Wukong kowtowed and said, "Please forgive me, master." "I shan't punish you," the patriarch replied, "but you'll have to go." Sun Wukong's eyes filled with tears. "Master, where am I to go?" "Go back to where you came from." Sun Wukong had a sudden awakening, and he said, "I came from the water curtain cave on the mountain of flowers and fruit in the country of Aolai in the eastern continent of Superior Body." "If you hurry back there," the patriarch replied, "you will be able to preserve your life. If you stay here, it will be absolutely impossible to do so." Sun Wukong accepted his punishment. "Yes, master," he said, "I have been away from home for 20 years, and I do miss the old days and my children and grandchildren. But when I remember that I have not yet repaid your enormous generosity to me, I can't bring myself to go. What sort of kindness would you be doing me if you stayed? I'd be happy enough if you keep me out of any disasters you cause." Seeing that there was nothing else for it, Sun Wukong bowed and took leave of him, saying goodbye to all the other students. "Now that you're going," the patriarch said, "I'm sure your life will not be a good one. Whatever disasters you cause and crimes you commit, I forbid you under any circumstances to call yourself my disciple. If you so much as hint at it, I'll know at once, and I'll tear off your monkey skin, chop up your bones, and banish your soul to the ninth darkness. I won't let you out for 10,000 eons. I promise to never give away a single letter of your name," said Sun Wukong. "I'll just say that I taught myself." Sun Wukong took his leave and went away, making the spell by clasping his fists. He jumped head over heels, summoned a somersault cloud, and went back to the eastern continent. Within 2 hours, he saw the water curtain cave on the mountain of flowers and fruit. The handsome Monkey King was so pleased that he said to himself, "When I left here, my mortal flesh and bones were heavy, but now I have the way, my body's light. No one in the world has real determination. To the firm will, the hidden becomes clear. When I last crossed the seas, the waves got in my way. But now on my return, the journey's easy. Parting words still echo in my ears. When will I see the Eastern Ocean again?" Sun Wukong put away his cloud and headed straight to the mountain of flowers and fruit. As he followed the path, he heard the call of the cranes and the cries of the apes. The crane calls echoed beyond the Milky Way, and the ape cries were pathetically sad. Sun Wukong shouted, "Children, I'm back." Big monkeys and little monkeys came bounding in their thousands and 10,000s from caves in the cliffs, from the grass and flowers, and down from the trees. They all crowded round the handsome Monkey King, kowtowed and said, "Your Majesty, you're a cool one. How could you stay away for so long, abandon us all here? We have been desperate for you to come back. A demon has been mistreating us terribly. He's occupied our water curtain cave, and we've been fighting for our lives with him. Recently, he's been stealing our things and carrying off many of our youngsters. We've had to stay awake all night to guard our families. Thank goodness you've come back. Another year without you, Your Majesty, and every one of us would be under his control, cave and all. Sun Wukong was furious. Who is this demon? What an outrage. Tell me everything about him, and I'll go and give him what's coming to him. The monkey host kowtowed again and said, Your Majesty, the wretch calls himself the Demon King of Confusion. He lives north of here. How far away is his lair? Sun Wukong asked. He comes and goes in cloud and mist, with wind and rain, or thunder and lightning, so we don't know how far it is. If that's how it is, Sun Wukong replied, then don't worry. Just keep yourselves amused while I go and find him. The splendid Monkey King jumped into the air, and as he somersaulted towards the north, he saw a high and precipitous mountain. It was a fine sight. Perpendicular peaks jutting straight up, deep-sunk winding streams. The perpendicular peaks jutting straight up pierced the sky. The deep-sunk winding streams led to the underworld. On pairs of cliffs, the plants compete in strangeness. Elsewhere, pine vies in greenness with bamboo. To the left are docile dragons. To the right are tame tigers. Iron oxen plowing are a common sight. Golden coins are always sown as seeds. Hidden birds sing beautifully. Red phoenixes stand in the sun. Racing over stones, the clear waves twist and bend in a vicious torrent. Many are the famous mountains in the world, and many the flowers that bloom and wither on them. But this scenery is eternal, unchanging through the 4 seasons. It is truly the mountain from which the 3 worlds spring, the cave in the belly of the water that nourishes the 5 elements. As the handsome Monkey King stood gazing in silence at this view, he heard voices. When he went down the mountainside to look, he found the cave in the belly of the water facing the cliff. Several minor demons were dancing around in front of the cave doors, and they ran away as soon as they saw Sun Wukong. Wait a moment, Sun Wukong said. I want you to take a message for me. I am the king of the water curtain cave and the mountain of flowers and fruit that lies due south of here. I've come to find that demon of confusion of yours, or whatever he's called, the one who's been mistreating my children and grandchildren, and have it out with him. The minor demon scuttled into the cave and reported, A disaster, Your Majesty. What do you mean, disaster? The Demon King asked. There's a monkey outside the cave, the minor demons reported, who says that he's the king of the water curtain cave on the mountain of flowers and fruit. He says that you have been bullying his children and grandchildren, and he's come specially to find you and have it out with you. The Demon King laughed. Those monkey devils are always going on about a king of theirs who renounced the world to cultivate his conduct. I suppose it must be him who's here now. Did you see how he was dressed or what weapons he was carrying? He hasn't got any weapons. He's bareheaded, and he's wearing a red gown belted with a yellow silk sash and a pair of black boots. He isn't dressed like a monk or a layman or an immortal. He's barehanded and empty-fisted, and he's standing outside the doors yelling. Bring me my armor and weapons, said the Demon King when he heard this. The minor demons produced them at once, and when he had donned his armor, he went out of the door with all the demons, his sword in his hand. Who is the king of the water curtain cave? He roared. Sun Wukong took a quick look at him and saw that, on his head, he wore a dark golden helmet glistening in the sun. On his body, he wore a black silk gown flapping in the breeze. Below that, he wore black metal armor girt with a leather belt. On his feet, he wore patterned boots as splendid as a field marshal's. His waist was 10 feet round, and his height was 30 cubits. In his hand he held a sword with gleaming point and edge. He called himself the Demon King of Confusion, and his appearance was truly dazzling. You insolent demon, shouted the Monkey King. Your eyes may be big, but you can't see who I am. The Demon King laughed at him. You don't even stand 4 feet from the ground. You're still in your 20s, and you got no weapon in your hand. What sort of mad courage makes you challenge me to a fight? You insolent demon, retorted Sun Wukong. How blind you are. You may think I'm small, but I can grow easily enough. You may think I'm unarmed, but I could pull the moon down from the sky with my 2 hands. Don't worry. Old Sun Wukong will sock you one." Sun Wukong gave a jump, leapt into the air, taking a swing at his face. The Demon King put out his hand to stop him and said, "Look how big I am, you dwarf. If you use your fists, I'll use my sword, but I'll only make myself look ridiculous if I killed you with a sword. Wait until I put my sword down, and then I'll give you a display of boxing." "Well said," exclaimed Sun Wukong, "spoken like a man. Come on, then." The Demon King dropped his guard to throw a punch, and Sun Wukong rushed in towards him, punching and kicking. When he spread out his hand, it was enormous, and when he clenched his fist, it was very hard. Sun Wukong hit the Demon King in the ribs, kicked his backside, and smashed several of his joints. The Demon King seized his steel sword that was as big as a plank and swung it at Sun Wukong's skull. Sun Wukong dodged the blow, and the sword only split air. Seeing how ugly the Demon King had turned, Sun Wukong used his magic art of getting extra bodies. He pulled out one of his hairs, popped it into his mouth, chewed it up, and blew it out into the air, shouting, "Change!" It turned into 200 or 300 little monkeys who all crowded around him. Sun Wukong now had an immortal body, and there was no magic transformation of which he was not capable. Since he had followed the way, he could change each of the 84,000 hairs on his head into anything he wanted. The little monkeys were too quick and nimble for sword or spear. Look at them leaping forwards and jumping backwards, rushing up and surrounding the Demon King, grabbing him, seizing him, poking him in the backside, pulling at his feet, punching him, kicking him, tearing his hair out, scratching at his eyes, twisting at his nose, all picking him up together and throwing him to the ground. They went on until they had beaten him to a pulp. Sun Wukong snatched his sword from him, told the little monkeys to get out of the way, and he brought it down on the crown of his head, splitting it into two. Then he led his forces charging into the cave, where they exterminated all the demons, big and small. He shook his hair and put it back on his body. The monkeys who did not go back on his body were the little monkeys the Demon King had carried off from the water curtain cave. Sun Wukong asked them how they had got there. There were 30 or 40 of them, and they replied with tears in their eyes, "It was after your Majesty went off to become an immortal. He had been fighting with us for the last 2 years. He brought us all here by force. All the things here, the stone bowls and plates, they were stolen from our cave by that beast. If it's our stuff, take it all out," said Sun Wukong. He then set fire to the cave in the belly of the water and burned it to a cinder. "Come back with me," he ordered the monkeys. "Your Majesty," they replied, "when we came here all we could hear was the wind howling in our ears as it blew us here, so we don't know the way. How are we ever going to get back?" "There's nothing at all to that spell he used," said Sun Wukong. "I can do it too, as now I only have to know the smallest bit about something to understand it completely. Shut your eyes and don't worry." Splendid Monkey King, he recited a spell, took them riding on a hurricane, then brought the cloud down to the ground. "Open your eyes and look, children," he shouted. As soon as the monkeys' feet touched the ground, they recognized their home. In their delight, they all ran along the familiar path to the cave, and the monkeys who had stayed in the cave all crowded in as well. They divided themselves into age groups and bowed in homage to the Monkey King. Wine and food were laid out to celebrate, and they asked him how he had defeated the Demon King and saved their children. When Sun Wukong had told them the whole story, the monkeys were full of admiration. "Where did you learn such arts, your Majesty?" they asked insistently. "When I left you," Sun Wukong replied, "I followed the waves and the currents and drifted across the eastern ocean to the southern Jambu continent. Here I taught myself to take human form and to wear clothes and boots. I swaggered around for 8 or 9 years, but I never found the way, so I sailed across the western ocean to the western continent of Cattle Gift. After long inquiries, I was lucky enough to meet a venerable immortal who taught me the true result, which makes me as immortal as heaven and the great Dharma gate to eternal youth." The monkeys all congratulated him and exclaimed that his like could not be found in 1,000,000,000 years. Sun Wukong laughed and said, "Children, we should congratulate ourselves on having a surname. "What is your Majesty's surname?" the monkey masses asked. "My surname is now Sun, and my Buddhist name is Wukong." The monkeys all clapped their hands with joy and said, "Your Majesty is Old Sun, and we are Second Sun, Third Sun, Thin Sun, Little Sun, a family of sons, a nation of sons, a den of sons." They all offered Old Sun their respects with big plates and small bowls of coconut toddy, grape wine, magic flowers, and magic fruit. The whole household was happy, my word. By uniting themselves with a single surname, they were waiting to be transferred to the register of immortals.